The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is continuing with its quarterly stakeholders engagement with some key members of political parties, civil society, the media. Yesterday, it indicated that it will pilot what it calls the Bimodal accreditation system for next election, a by-election in Delta State. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, notes that some of these litigations make it impossible for INEC to issue a certificate of return even after elections have been conducted and results announced. We're talking about the issue of the conflicting court orders while advising political party leaders to address the challenge. The INEC chairman insists that the commission will not hesitate to exercise its responsibility as a regulator going forward. Let's take a listen to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu today with his meeting with civil society organizations.
For some time, many stakeholders, including civil society organizations, have called on the Commission to strengthen the voter accreditation process during elections, especially with reference to the use of the incident form, where the smart card reader fails to authenticate the fingerprints of voters. To address this concern, the Commission attempted to introduce the facial biometric authentication during the accreditation of voters using the Z-Pad tablet to complement the fingerprint process through the card reader before the Edo governorship election in September 2020. Over the last 1 year, we have reviewed the situation and we think we have found the appropriate technology to address it. The functionality of the Z-Pad has now been integrated into the IVED, that's the INEC voter enrollment device currently used for voter registration. On election day, the same device will become the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, BVAS, to be used first for fingerprint identification during accreditation and why it fails for facial identification. We believe that this will eliminate the possibility of voting by identity theft using another person's PVC. Where the voter fails both the fingerprint and facial authentication, he or she will not be allowed to vote. The new mantra is that no electronic accreditation, no voting.
So let's get to hear more and know more about this. You heard about it, that INEC is going to be introducing this. What does this mean for our elections? Let's get to listen to INEC National Chairman in charge of voter education and publicity, Mr. Festus Okoye, is in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Okoye, for joining us tonight. Let's begin. Before I get into the matter of the bimodal voter accreditation, let's try to get some clarity. Since the Anambra PDP judgment from the Court of Appeal, has INEC been able to make up his mind on what the judgment reads and taking the next step of action on the candidate for PDP? Because that was omitted in the last time INEC published the names of candidates for Anambra governorship election.
Well, since the time the Court of Appeal sat and delivered the judgment in relation to the Anambra PDP party primary challenge, the commission as a commission has not met. So there's a possibility that the commission will meet tomorrow. And if we meet tomorrow and the judgment, the enrolled order of that particular judgment, the enrolled copy or certified true copy has been served on the commission, we will definitely take a position because, as I've pointed out consistently, under Section 287 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, the Independent National Electoral Commission, as an institution, as an authority, is bound to give effect to judgments from superior courts of record. So if there's already a judgment or a decision emanating from the Court of Appeal relating to the party primaries in Anambra State and relating to the PDP, definitely the commission will give effect to that particular judgment. So what normally happens is that even if we are represented in court, we normally subject the judgment to our own processes and procedures. First, we must get a certified true copy of that particular judgment, and then we have to raise a memo to go to the Legal Services Committee, and then from the Legal Services Committee, it comes to the Commission, and then the Commission will look at the judgment or the court order and make a determination on what exactly we've been asked to do, and we just give effect to it. So the Commission, we meet tomorrow, and if we meet tomorrow and the judgment has been served on us, we will definitely give effect to the decision of the Court of Appeal.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait on the decision of INEC on that, because I know a lot of PDP followers and members are looking forward since that Court of Appeal judgment. But let's get to know, in the voter registration process, the continual voter registration in Anambra State, I see that you have stopped that exercise in Anambra State. Is there any reason for that?
Yes, we needed to stop the exercise in Anambra State to enable us prepare for the election itself. As you are aware, the Commission started this particular exercise using an online pre-registration portal. And so many people from Anambra utilized the online registration portal and did their pre-registration. We also devolved the registration exercise to our state offices and to our local government offices. But in last week, we also devolved to the various registration areas for a period of 5 days to enable more people to register. But we have to stop the exercise based on the fact that, one, we have to display the voters register for claims and objections. Thereafter, we have to clean up the voters register and then go and print the permanent voters cards of the new registrants. So we need time to clean up this. We need time to do all these things. And also we need time to prepare for the election. And that is why we stopped the exercise for now. But immediately after the election, on the 6th of November, we will resume the continuous voters registration exercise in Anambra, and then we take it up to June next year. So anybody who did not register during this period, we still have an opportunity of registering when we resume. Unfortunately, the person will not have the opportunity of voting during the Anambra governorship election on the 6th of November 2021.
124,458. That's the number of those who have done the online registration in Anambra State. I know that about less than 1.5 million voters participated, are registered in Anambra in the last governorship election. But can you give us an understanding of how many voters are there registered now? Because I know you've closed the window, so they may not be able to register now in Anambra State. How many voters do we have now in Anambra State based on INEC's record?
You know, prior to the time we started the continuous voters registration exercise, the total number of registered voters in Anambra State stood at 2,447,996. Now, with the completed, those who have completed their registration, as at Monday, the 6th of September, stood at 49,658. We are still going to look at our back end, look at our own processes and procedures, and make a determination of the number of persons who duly completed their registration within this particular period. So when we subject the number to our own processes at the back end, we will now make a determination of the number of people that actually registered. And you have to also realize that this particular list has to be subjected to claims and objections. So after claims and objections, we clean up the register and then integrate this particular list together with the main voters register and then hand over to the political parties to get them ready for the purposes of the election.
So let's talk about this innovation that the chairman spoke about when he was meeting with the stakeholders. Can you tell us what this bimodal voter accreditation means? Will it work in tandem with the card reader machine? I know it's an accreditation device or process. Are you going to phase out the card reader machine? What exactly is this Bimodal voter accreditation?
Well, you know, this particular commission is in love with technology. And we will continue to be creative and we will continue to innovate in terms of making sure that we improve on our electoral process. If you remember, sometime in 2011, the commission introduced the DDCM machines with which we did a voter registration exercise. And then thereafter, in 2015, we also introduced the smart card reader and the permanent voters cards. And then sometime in 2020, we introduced the Z-Pad, with which we uploaded polling unit results into our own central portal for public viewing. So what we have done now is to upgrade our processes and upgrade our procedures. This particular device we are now using is multidimensional and it can do a lot of things. For the purposes of voters registration exercise, we call it the IVED, which is INEC Voter Enrollment Device. And that's what we are using for the purposes of the ongoing voters registration exercise. Now, when we go into an election, it transforms into BVAS, which is Bimodal Voter Accreditation System. And what it can do is that it can read fingerprints and also it can read facials. So based on our experiences, based on the concerns raised by various persons and various agencies and various individuals and the critical stakeholders relating to the challenges with the smart card reader, especially in relation to the reading of the fingerprints, we have decided to introduce a system that can read not only the fingerprints, but also can read the facials. So if somebody has challenges with his or her fingerprints, what we will do is to read the person's facials. So nobody can come to the polling unit now to say, oh, the smart card reader couldn't read my fingerprints, so let me go and use the incident form in order to be allowed to vote. If the smart card reader is unable to read their fingerprints, it will read their facials. If it cannot read their facials, the implication is that you are not the person you claim to be. The implication is that you are not a registered voter because you may not have fingerprints, but you cannot leave your face at home and come to the polling unit. So what we are doing is that we are trying to strengthen the accreditation process and make it foolproof so that every registered voter, every individual who does not suffer any legal disability and who duly registered and comes to the polling unit to vote, we have an opportunity of being accredited and the person will have an opportunity of voting.
I know you have some of your personnel there in our Abuja studio, and Nigerians would love to see how that works. Maybe they can just show us as you speak through it. But essentially, what will this, will these cut off any kind of fraud in our election? Because we see a situation where PVCs are being sold during elections. Can this continue to happen, or this bimodal process will stop it permanently?
Well, I have with me two of our senior ICT staff, Dr. Bimodal Lawrence and Chika Opala. They are here in the studio, and they will readily explain to you how this particular system works. But what we are trying to do essentially is that in this particular system, we are going to have the name of the polling unit. We have the registered number of persons in a particular polling unit and the voters register of the polling unit inside this particular device. So when you come to the polling unit to vote, and during the process of accreditation, they can use your last name in order to call up the voters register from the device. They can use the VIN number in order to call up the voters register from the device. They can also use the QR code to call up your name from the voters register. So the issue of coming to the polling unit with a card that does not belong to you, or with a clone card, or with any other form of identification claiming that you are the one, will be completely eliminated. So we are confident that we now have a system that will improve the credibility of our elections and improve the credibility of the accreditation process. But Bimodal Lawrence and Chika Opala can fully explain some of the functionalities of this present device.
Baude, Chike, give us just about a minute or thereabout. Give us a sense of how this works. Does it work with internet? Can it be offline? What? Take it away. What does it do essentially? If you can show us how it works.
Yeah, that is the device I'm holding in my hand. For the election, just as the commissioner has said, it is bimodal accreditation system. So on this device, we have the registered voters on this device. For example, this device that I'm holding currently has 30 registered voters already stored on it. If the registered voter for that polling unit is 1,000 registered voters will be stored on this device. And you can see that so far the accredited voters is 0. So as a voter is being accredited, that number will continue to increase. So for us to get a voter to be authenticated from this device, we can type in the last name of the voter. We can type in the last 6 digits of the VIN number of the voter. We can use the device to read the barcode at the back of the permanent voter's card of the voter. And we can also use the device to scan the QR code on the register of voters. Now, I'm going to bring up a voter, and I'm going to use his last name to bring him up from this device.
So, essentially, does this work online or it can work offline?
It works offline.
So it's preloaded?
Yes, preloaded. The data is stored on a device before they are being deployed to the field. So on the field, it works offline.
How long can the power charge on it stay? How long can you have the power? Okay, so there we go. There's an Okpala Chike. This is a voter, isn't it? So this is what happens.
Yes, so that is a voter that I've brought up from the system. Now, the device can stay up to 10 to 12 hours. And there is a backup power bank that comes with the device. That backup power is 20 milliampere hour, which can last for 4 to 5 hours. So altogether, we have a power that the device can use to work of 17 hours.
Wow. So what other thing can it do apart from, okay, you've called it up, it's just like you have a mobile phone and you have your contact on your mobile device, so it calls it up. What else can it do?
Yeah, just like the commissioner has said, this device can be deployed to do so many things. If you are deploying it for voter enrollment, it can be deployed for that. It can be deployed to be used for authentication. And also on election day, it can be used to upload polling unit result on election day.
Interesting. What other thing do you want us to show us? I love gadgets a lot, and I'm quite excited about this. But essentially, how this works in the minds of Nigeria. So, what else do the voters need to know?
Yeah, like I was trying to explain earlier, I have called up the voter on the device, and we are at the point of accrediting this voter. And now, so for us to accredit the voter, we use the fingerprint for the accreditation. If that fails, we use the facial. Now, this is the voter. Now, to verify him, we click on the verify. Now we can see the facial and the biometrics. Now we click on the biometrics to accredit the voter. So now this voter is close to me now. Can you just put your finger? We are trying to accredit him now. Put it.
So it's a touch screen device too.
Yes, there's a yes. Now, the fingerprint has passed, we can see that the fingerprint has passed. So because the fingerprint has passed, you can see the tick. It means that the fingerprint has passed. So the voter need not to do his facial. But if this fails, then we have to do the facial for that voter. If your fingerprint fails, we do the facial. Then we are sure that the facial, because the facial technology has evolved over time, we are sure that the accuracy is almost 99.9% now. So we are sure that that will pass. But just like the commissioner said, if both fails, it means that the voter cannot be allowed to vote.
So
one
we don't
of
need
your
the card reader
has to pass.
Do we still need the card reader machine beside this?
No. We don't need the smart card reader again. This has taken over.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Okay. So this is an innovation ahead of the card reader machine. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. But there's still one more matter that I'd like Mr. Okoye to talk about. That is the conflicting court orders and the effect on what INEC is doing in our elections. The INEC chairman says they're frustrated, they have worries about what is happening. The CJN had summoned the heads of court, and there is an outcome on that. Some people will be queried, and some people will answer questions in relation to it. We'll take a break. But when we return, we'll allow Mr. Okoye's final thoughts on some of these issues. Plus, I'll get some political leaders, Mr. Shehu Gabam, the National Secretary of the SDP, and Mr. Bishop Amakri, the National Chairman of the YPP. Both of them will assess some of these issues for us and see where INEC is getting it right and what needs to be done to further the advancement of our electoral process. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome back to the program. So let's continue our conversation with Mr. Festus Okoye, the National Commissioner at INEC in charge of voter education and publicity. Thank you so much for that showcase, Mr. Okoye. Now we can have an idea of what we're working on. And it does gladden one's heart that, to a large extent, if we don't have aliens voting in our election, that is a stage in getting sanity into our electoral process. But when will you start using this bimodal accreditation device?
Well, this particular device will be deployed this Saturday during the Isoko South 1 state constituency election in Delta State. We are going to do the pilot in this state constituency. And, but we are confident, we are sure that this particular device is robust enough for us to deploy during the Anambra state governorship election. And then from the Anambra governorship election, then we have the FCT area council elections in February. And then thereafter, it will become a permanent feature of our electoral process. What we have done and our desire is to retire the smart card reader because the smart card reader has lasted for 2 electoral cycles, and we have more modern gadgets, more modern equipment that can be deployed for the purposes of our election. So we are really excited that we are moving at this pace and towards this particular direction. So we have a device that is multifunctional and multidimensional that we can use for different purposes and for different activities.
So, legally speaking, I know that the Electoral Act, in fact, no, the Constitution allows or empowers INEC to devise any such means that will help it conduct elections. So, it depends. So, the Constitution has given INEC initiative to be able to use such a means. So, legally speaking, I wanted to ask, you're permitted to use this because I'm not sure how much of, based on the Electoral Act that we have presently, not the one that is being worked on, how much of electronic INEC can go in our elections?
I didn't quite get the questions. I couldn't hear the last portion of your
let me go again. Yeah, I was saying that, can you hear me now, Mr. Okoye? So the point I was trying to make is, legally speaking, I know that there's been this conversation around whether or not we can go digital with our elections, how much of the backing INEC has in terms of the electronic voting or electronic process in our election. So legally speaking, Justin, I'm speaking to a lawyer. Can you tell us that what you've just introduced or what you're planning to introduce to our elections is backed by law?
You know, the commission is a constitutional body, and it's also a legal body. Whatever we do is backed by law. And whatever we do is also backed by our own regulations, by our own guidelines, and also by our own gazettes. Now, the issue of the bimodal voter accreditation system is backed by law. This is because if you look at Section 49 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, it makes it very, very clear that when a voter presents himself or herself before a presiding officer on election day, that the presiding officer has to be sure that the person who has come with a permanent voter's card is the actual person whose name is on the voter's register. So the presiding officer has to be sure. So this bimodal voter accreditation system is one of the mechanisms, one of the gadgets, and one of the equipment that will enable the presiding officer to know that the person who has come before to the polling unit to vote is the actual person who was registered as a voter. So we don't have an issue with that. Secondly, if you look at from EC8A, which is the polling unit results, you will also recall that on election day, after the votes are collated and after the votes are counted, we also paste the scores of the political parties at a conspicuous place at the polling unit. It is that from EC8A that the commission uploads to its INEC result viewing portal. So as far as we are concerned, technology has come to stay in the commission. There is no law, there is nothing in the constitution that prevents us from deploying technology in the electoral process. So all the things we are doing as at present are backed by law and backed by the constitution. And the Nigerian people are happy with our innovations. The Nigerian people are happy with our drive. And the Nigerian people are also in tune with what we are doing. And we'll continue to serve the Nigerian people to the best of our ability, especially making sure that we bring more credibility to the electoral process.
We have 30 seconds to let you go and enjoy your evening, Mr. Okoye. How frustrating is the conflicting court orders for INEC?
Sorry, I didn't get your last question.
I said, how frustrating is it for INEC, the conflicting court orders? The conflicting court orders.
Well, the commission has spoken out on the issue of conflicting court orders, and the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission has also come out forcefully to tell Nigerian people that the issue of conflicting court orders is creating challenges for the commission. But I think that the Chief Justice of the Federation has also come out to weigh in on the issue of conflicting court orders and judgments, and the president of the Bar Association has also weighed in on the issue. So we are confident that with all these with the Bar Association, with the judiciary, and with other concerned Nigerians weighing in on the situation, that the menace or the epidemic will be brought to a halt. This is because unless we checkmate it now, it will become a very big issue as we approach the 2023 general election. So I believe that with these interventions, we may begin to witness a lull in terms of this rush of court orders, rush of orders and judgments from courts of coordinate jurisdiction, and with courts that do not have both substantive and geographical jurisdiction to intervene in some of these matters. So we are happy with what is going on, but the Independent National Electoral Commission will also, at the appropriate time and appropriate opportunity, meet with the Chief Justice of the Federation and the President of the Bar Association and all the other critical stakeholders, and still reiterate its resolve to make sure that our independence is not eroded and our processes are not distorted or disrupted based on some of these conflicting court orders and conflicting judgments.
It's always a pleasure having you to do what we have been assigned to do, Mr. Okoye. That is voter education and publicity for INEC. Thank you so much, Ms. Okoye, for your time tonight, and I appreciate it so much.